It begins with a quote from the Book of Psalms. Then a single car drives along an open road. Images of a lady riding in it are interspersed with images of her being shown a house by an agent. She is Sophia, wanting to buy the house. The agent tells her it's a 1-year contract only. That doesn't stop her from getting it. Afterward, Sophia talks to a man at a restaurant. She asks him if he thinks he can do something. We don't know what she asks for, but whatever it is, she apparently asked a few others before him. The first step is to have this man, Joseph, look at the house she just got. Later, we see them occupy it. He makes a slight complaint about it being cold there. That's because there's no heating, Sophia says. In the kitchen, she tells Joseph she followed a special diet. She had no alcohol for 22 weeks, along with refraining from any kind of intimacy. For the last 27 days, she has eaten only between dusk and dawn. In the next 3 days, she plans to fast. When Joseph asks whether she is Protestant or Catholic, she says she's the latter. The man gives her some of his information by saying he's done this procedure 3 times. It worked only once. The other 2 failed. This gives us the idea that whatever they're setting out to do is not an easy task. The man wants to know why she's doing it. Love is her reason. That answer slightly confuses him. She explains that she loves someone who doesn't love her anymore. Outside, she asks Joseph if he's going to engage in the procedure. Much to her chagrin, he says he will not. The house isn't right for him. Confused, Sophia says it has everything he asked for. All he wants now is the money she owes him. She tries to talk to him, yet he won't have it. He only wants his money. The next thing we see is them both riding in a car. He tells her she can do the procedure by herself. That is rubbish to her. She says someone has to be there to know how it's done. It's love, she says, something he doesn't understand. As they sit elsewhere, Sophia tells him she will pay the man $70,000 for it. He isn't interested, though, prompting her to tell him she lost her child to convince him to help. He wants to know why she lied, and she admits she thought it would be too much. Joseph asks if she is telling the truth now, because it's important. She assures him it's no lie, wanting it more than anything. Then they occupy the house again, after having wasted time traveling. She could have just told him the truth earlier, instead of waiting until he almost left. Inside, Joseph starts telling her how things will be. He also asks if she knows the dangers. This is real stuff, he tells her. Real angels and real demons. He wants to be sure that she's ready for all the hardships their procedure will bring. She has nothing else to say, except that she is prepared. At another time, Sophia writes a list of items they will need. While alone, she takes out a picture of herself with her son. She also places a chair near the door handle to barricade herself in for some reason. Perhaps she doesn't trust Joseph. Later, we see she has bought many supplies as she loads them into her car. In the parking lot, the sight of a mother doing something with her child on the ground gets her attention. Suddenly, a lady rushes to Sophia from behind to steal her focus. The next scene has them sitting at a restaurant. Supposedly, they know each other quite well. The lady asks Sophia if she told him, probably Joseph, about the psychiatric hospital. She answers that she's better now. When the lady says Sophia is vulnerable, the latter disagrees. Disagreeing with the procedure that Sophia has decided to undertake, the lady says she would do something different. She wants Sophia to come home, where she will be looked after. We discover they are sisters. Sophia tells her that she's going to do it, no matter what, whether it's right or wrong. She finishes their meeting, getting up to firmly tell her sister she should stay away from her. Following this, Joseph cuts off a branch to throw it into a room in the house for some reason. Sophia then comes to him as he sits outside. They start talking in German. Soon, he accidentally cuts his hand. It makes him ask her if she lied. After saying she didn't, he shows her the cut. It seems to indicate that she lied. He wants her to understand that a half-truth is also a lie, though she still thinks she didn't cause the cut. Supposedly, her German is not on par with his, and she has to know it for the procedure to go well. Joseph assures the lady he will help her with it. On another day, Joseph surrounds the house with a special substance from a bucket. He tells Sophia it's her last chance to back out. Once he completes the circle, no one can leave until the procedure is finished. They can't step outside of it for anything, not even an emergency. Without hesitating, she tells him to seal it. After that, Joseph finds her sleeping, which makes him splash water on her. He expresses anger toward her lack of seriousness. All she can do is apologize. Shortly after, they sit in the kitchen, where Joseph chops some food. He tells her to not give him a certain look. She reminds him that she's paying him, but the man does not care. He gets angry again, causing him to smash a bowl. Joseph demands that she not argue with him. Her ignorance only creates frustration. After he places the food he chopped into her mouth, she asks what it will do. He answers that she's been cleansed ritually. Soon, she will be cleansed physically. Sophia wants to know if the experience will be horrible. Without sugarcoating it, Joseph quickly says it will. Later, she lies in bed, having a disturbing flashback. On perhaps the next day, Sophia sits on the floor in a room, listening to Joseph's expert lecture on the procedure they will now engage in. He is dressed in different attire to indicate that it has begun. There are several circles he drew on the floor. He says they have to consecrate them to open a chamber with magic squares. Afterward, they pass through. There are 5 circles, 5 elements, and 5 realms. He calls the procedure an Abramlin, which is somewhat of a journey. It's a poor metaphor, he says, yet it will do for now. He goes through the circles, giving her some knowledge as to what they are. Arriving at the final one in the middle, Joseph says it is nameless, unlike the other ones. At this circle is where her angel will appear. She will ask for her favor of the angel, while Joseph will ask for his. Sophia asks when her angel will appear. His answer isn't quite what she wanted, because he says the angel will be invoked at every circle. Their world will be merged with other worlds, so others will hear them. She asks about the appearance of the angel again. It could appear at any time, he says. However, it will most likely come at the 4th or 5th circle. He then takes her into a room where he shows her a triangle. Being the Trinity, it represents the divine order. It's where Sophia will gain focus, in addition to preventing herself from going mad. Subsequently, she sits in another room which contains the branch Joseph threw inside. This room is a world of decay, lifelessness, and brute fact. The square represents its form. That room is her urges, along with her baseness. It's where she gains her steel. She breaks the branch because he wanted her to. Back in the main room, Joseph places a rock on the floor, telling her to feel its mass with its stillness. For the next 2 days, he will unshackle the house from the world. She can't leave the circle during that time. She has to focus on the stone he's given her. The man advises her to fall into it, swallowing any pain or discomfort in the process. On the 3rd day, they will break for food and water. Then they will do the same thing in 2 other rooms. As time goes by, we see her sitting in the circle while reading a book. She repeats certain lines several times, like asking for all her transgressions to be washed. Eventually, the door near her opens. It prompts her to walk into another room, where she finds her son's toy on the floor. Later, Joseph asks her if she heard a dog, which she didn't. She questions how they will know that something has started to work. That is exactly why he brought the dog up, because they're miles from anywhere. His hearing the dog made him think that something started to activate. Suddenly, a bird slams into the window. This convinces Joseph that it has begun. As we see Sophia changing positions from a circle, he tells her the circles are hard to master. Each one will take weeks. At another time, he spills water on her, making her shiver on the floor. She wants to sleep, but the man says she can't do it yet. The next scene has him telling her that forgiveness is part of the ritual. However, she doesn't do forgiveness. She says he worked around other things, so he has to work around this. We observe that Joseph's working around involves him spilling his blood into a glass. He wants her to drink it, yet she fears getting a disease from his blood, asking to drink hers instead. That is not an option. He even yells for her to do it quickly. The lady struggles, though she pushes through. Joseph firmly ensures that she doesn't vomit it up. Afterward, the blood somehow reappears in the glass. She has to perform it over and over, because it doesn't look like Joseph is aware of the repetition. At a calmer time, Sophia looks at the picture of her with her son again. She rips it in such a way that only her son remains, and crumples the other part. After that, she frantically searches for something in her backpack, only to find nothing. Talking to Joseph again, the man tells her that he's seen gods, as well as demons. Sophia asks if he's ever seen anything that scared him. All of it scares him, he says. She wonders if that's the point of the ritual. He educates her that the point is to know. She then asks him if he has been going through her belongings, because something is missing. Somewhat angry to hear her accusations, he assures her he hasn't touched anything. In the next scene, Sophia has her ear against a floor, saying she hears something. Joseph tells her it's their actions being noticed. A bang suddenly scares her. Responding to it, Joseph marks the floor with chalk. He says they must progress carefully now. Later, she describes her dream to him. In it, there is a weird old woman who holds her son's hand. When he turns around, she wakes up. Joseph tells her it's her mind working on things. In the triangle room, she lies down while he paints Asian characters on her back. At a certain time, the man tells her to do something indecent. He tells her to undress so he can indulge himself. He does it to purify his mind, he says. Since it wasn't part of the ritual, it makes Sophia angry. They have a moment of heated disagreement. We soon see what this inappropriate act leads to. It makes Sophia add her urine to the food that's being made, as a way of taking revenge against Joseph. She says she's not hungry, allowing him to consume the extra hidden ingredient. Eventually, we see her wanting to leave the house, with Joseph attempting to stop her. She can't stand to repeat the rough procedures. The man wants her to understand that she cannot cross the line outside the house. If she does, they will be stuck there forever. But according to her, nothing has happened since they started the ritual. He disagrees, saying it has. He promises the lady that he will make her talk to her child. Then we see more painstaking ritual procedures taking place. Walking in the corridor, Sophia finds flowers on the carpet. She shows one of them to the man and asks if it could have been brought in by the wind. He says it couldn't have, which proves that something is working. One day, we see her sitting in a circle while something descends in front of her. She puts this small golden thing on her finger to look at it. Shortly after, more of the material sprinkles on her. As the duo sit talking, Sophia wonders about the nature of science. Joseph says science describes the least of things, the least of what something is. Religion, magic, these phenomena showcase the endless in everything. Soon, we get to observe how decorated their circles have become. They are well immersed in their activity. When they're in the kitchen, Sophia gives him an attitude out of nowhere. He questions her about it, and she shows her rage by knocking his book out. Nothing is working, she says. The poor lady, having been through such hardships, wants to know why it isn't working, yet he simply replies that he doesn't know. He thinks it's her fault. She hasn't been telling him the truth about why she wants it done. After asking her if she told him everything, Sophia says she has. This prompts him to attack her. As he holds her down, she finally admits she wants vengeance. Her child was murdered by people doing a ritual. At this point, Joseph learns that she lied to him. From where she stood, she thought she had no choice. She asks if he would have started the ritual if he had known of this reason. With an attitude, the man says he would have. He doesn't need her to be virtuous, he just needs her to be driven. She wonders if this means they will stop now, but he says that that's not an option. At a different time, Joseph comes to her while she's sleeping. He wants them to do something, which soon has her getting into a bathtub with cold water. He pours it on her as he says the names of certain powerful figures. He wants them to strengthen her soul. He also says he has to dunk her 3 times. The first dunk is short-lived. The second one is somewhat longer. On the third dunk, though, he holds her submerged long enough for her to struggle. She can't win against the stronger man, so she loses consciousness. Shortly after, he takes Sophia out, performing CPR on the lady until she regains herself. Later, he tells her she has been reborn. He had to do what he did to get on the right track. Anger consumes her again, causing her to demand that he make something happen. She pushes him. These two simply cannot get along. It seems like this caused a knife to impale him. Because of this, he thinks the ritual is starting to work. This is a man who knows how to read the sign. That's the price he pays for hurting her, he claims. It was done by her guardian angel. After pulling the knife out, she tends to his wound. Joseph wants her to use this time to talk about her child. She says he was taken from a daycare center. No culprit was ever found, and the kidnapping was 3 years ago. Sophia asks him what he's going to ask the angel for. Invisibility is what he wants. He wants to live the rest of his life away from the world. The man is certain things will start happening now. She will have her vengeance. She then sits in a room where she hears a sound coming from somewhere. While she investigates, we see someone walking in the triangle room. Sophia goes in there, yet all she finds is a mark on the wall. Sitting with Joseph to talk again, she gets asked what she thinks will happen when she asks for her revenge. She admits that she hopes they'll be eternally damned. Once Joseph says what an interesting pair they are, she says she's not like him. He disagrees, saying she is just like him, perhaps even worse. After that, Sophia walks into the kitchen to observe the kettle lying on the floor. It shows the trouble Joseph is having to deal with. She advises that maybe they should stop the ritual. Of course, we know the man answers that they cannot. Their ritual has taken its toll on both of them. Joseph is vomiting, and Sophia is concerned for his health. The next scene has our troubled lady lying in bed. Hearing something prompts her to search again. She hears the voice of her son, but she doesn't believe it's him. She sits near the door from which the voice comes, to hear it say he misses her very much. She misses him too, despite knowing it's not her son she's talking. He urges her to open the door, because something is in there with him. Whoever he is, he bangs on the door fearfully. Sophia, however, is smart. She stands her ground and doesn't open the door, disregarding the tempting situation. Soon, she sees Joseph in the hallway. Running to him, he tells her what she knows, that the voice behind the door isn't her son's. He also says this is the price of their rage. She should embrace it instead of fearing it. At another time, the duo sit in the kitchen. Sophia reflects on the time of the year. She thinks it's early March, but Joseph's intuition tells him it's May. This contrast shows how long their ritual is taking, along with how mentally taxing it is. She asks him if he wants to eat or sleep. He says he does not, because he needs that steel. There is no surrendering. Following this, Sophia sits alone in a dark room. In the armchair, she perceives a dark entity sitting there while smoking. Nothing can be seen, except the darkness and the light of the cigarette. Bringing her candlelight near the armchair reveals no one occupying it anymore. But the cigarette, still emitting smoke, rests on the ashtray nearby. Shortly after, Sophia joins Joseph in bed. The man behaves differently now. He is full of fear. He says he's a servant and a warrior. Demons fear him. It doesn't take long for him to start crying. He misses his sister, he says. This causes the lady to put her hand on the broken man. She has never seen him so tender. Then she comes to the main room, looking at the books on the floor. To her dismay, they all have thick black scribbles inside them. What is our heroine to do now? All she can do is lose her calm. How such vandalism happened is a mystery. We see how she sits with a hopeless attitude later on. She also sits near the entrance to look at the lines surrounding the house. Sophia has decided to step past it. Does this action show that she doesn't take Joseph's words seriously? Perhaps she has realized they are doomed anyway. Sophia gets into her car and tries to turn it on. However, her vehicle does not obey her. Since it doesn't, she starts walking along the open road, having decided to abandon the ritual. She walks for a while, until she eventually arrives back at the house. It makes her scream in despair. It seems like Joseph was correct about it being impossible to leave the house. Sophia re-enters it to find vomit on the floor. In it lies the torn picture of her son. She also observes Joseph lying a bit further ahead. It is unknown whether he is still alive. Afterward, she sits on the stairs as we witness inhuman hands dragging Joseph away. Shortly after, Sophia sits in a room contemplating her situation. It's uncertain what she plans to do, if it's anything at all. Soon, her candlelight goes out, making her enter another area to relight it. Once she lights a match, she gets quite a surprise. Strange beings stand in the dark before her, but upon lighting the candle, they vanish. She then hears the troubled screaming of someone. It could be Joseph, although it could be a trap. She runs near to where it's coming from to close the door. Whatever is in that room, she does not want it coming out. Yet one of those strange beings is behind her. Scared, the poor lady hides in her room and barricades it with a chair. The next scene has her lying on the floor. Behind the door, her son's voice appears again. He asks her why she wasn't there to pick him up at a certain time. All she can say is that she's sorry. Knowing it's not her son she's talking to, she still says she loves him. Sophia misses him every day. She assures him she is going to get the people who brought him to his demise. To that, he responds with a truth she knows as well as he does. That those people didn't do anything to him because he's just someone who's using her son's voice to instill fear into her. On the next day, Sophia seems to have slept everything off. She slowly walks around the house until she finds her son's toy on the floor. Then, from the darkness, she sees someone coming at her. It is a strange lady who holds her son's hand. Another one of the otherworldly beings silently knocks Sophia out. She awakens in a dark blue-lit room where many of those creatures are watching. One of them uses pliers to sever our heroine's finger. Somehow, she manages to start running from them. As she does, she runs past an immobile Joseph. He's unconscious, or perhaps lifeless. We can only hope it's the former. Climbing the stairs, Sophia gets held back by the monsters. At that point, she says she is very sorry. It is a heartfelt apology, which seems to have caused the light ahead to become many times stronger in addition to making the monsters vanish. So she ascends toward it. From there, she enters the main room in the house, the one where all the circles are. In the middle circle, she witnesses what she has been waiting for since the beginning. A huge angel occupies it, having to kneel because of his immense size. Holding a sword while being surrounded by light, Sophia utters that he's gorgeous. He mouths something to her that we don't hear. Again, she repeats how sorry she is. At that moment, we see her halfway submerged in water outside. Near her floats a body, tied in a bag. She ends up telling the angel that she wants to have the power to forgive. This comes as a surprise. We should recall that her attitude towards forgiveness was a negative one. We then see her send the floating body away. As the angel smiles at her, the body sinks ahead. It's possible that the body was Joseph, though it's uncertain. The final scene has Sophia getting into her car, which is now working. She drives away from the house, which gave her an unforgettable experience. We wonder if she got what she asked for. We also wonder if she always intended to ask for the ability to forgive, or if she changed her mind near the last moment. Sophia and her situation remain a mystery.